know you boys have some thoughts on the Vegas Colorado series.
I I'm yeah, I was completely wrong. I thought that was going to 7 games, and I mean, it would have been nice to have another game yesterday to watch, but unfortunately, man, like I think it was game 3 we were watching out back, and Vegas just was dominating Colorado, and I was watching it beside Colton, and it was just obviously like I'm second favorite team is Vegas, but my number one team is Ottawa. So it's like I want to see Vegas win, but I also want to see Colorado win because obviously it would be super hype if they made it to the finals, and we could just be like celebrating outside and everything, having a good time watching them make it. But Vegas just dominated them, man. Like honestly, from when the first game that they got blown out, the second game they lost in OT to make it 2-0. Vegas played really, really well, but Grubauer stood on his head
Yeah.
and was like keeping them in it. And then they squeaked one out in OT. And then from there on out, like you could just see they either just gotten their head or something. And Vegas kind of just accelerated and took away that series. And then the last game, to me, like the biggest thing, I was watching it and just like trying to figure out why is this happening to Colorado, because I was just genuinely curious. And seems like they just take a lot of like irresponsible penalties at like inopportune times, like Ryan Graves, and then like Sam Girard. He was like -5 or -4 that night, and like you watched every goal that they scored on, and he was just like obviously a bad game, unlucky, but he was just all over the place, and just sucks to see. But they need, man, Byram in a couple of years.
Well, he didn't
Colorado. Yeah.
Was he still injured? Why didn't they put him in at some point?
Well, that's actually
COVID.
No, it was a little bit of it was a couple things. He was off on COVID for a little bit, came back and played one game against Vegas and got like I forget who it was, but somebody fucking just like literally head checked him, like jumped up into the boards and just crushed his fucking head, and then he was out for literally the rest of the season and the postseason. So
he's still out with a concussion?
Yeah.
Okay, so they wouldn't have been able to put him in.
Yeah, no. They like he wasn't even getting a look. They said he was skating, but he was in non-contact jersey for the whole time they were practicing. So
brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything Curtis said. It's like, to me, this is a very similar situation to I think how Tampa had struggled in that 1 year against Columbus. They won the President's Trophy that year. They had an unreal season. It was like nobody could stop them. I remember, I think they were playing like Washington. I remember watching that video of like them putting on a passing clinic of literally it hit every single person's stick and then went in the net. It was like a tap in. Like fucking anybody would have been able to score that. And that was the year where I was like, bro, like watching this video, there's no way that Tampa loses this year. And then they got swept by Columbus in the first round. So I feel like Colorado's in a similar state where it's like you can be good and you can be really good in regular season, but the playoffs are a completely different game. And it's a slower game because teams definitely slow it down and tighten up their defense. There's more hitting. It's way more physical. The goalies, for some reason, get better unless you're Tristan Jarry. And it's very confusing to see because, you know, refs kind of let stuff go that normally wouldn't slide in the regular season. It's just a completely different game is what I'm trying to get at. And you look at Tampa winning last year and what they're doing now and their additions that they had, and a lot of it was grit. They added a lot of gritty players that were able to, you know, push them a little bit further and make them be able to switch their play style if they wanted to. Like, I'm pretty sure that second round against Carolina, they had like 10 or 15 more hits in Carolina almost every single game. And it's like, if you know Tampa, you know that they're a skilled team. You don't look at that team and go, oh yeah, they're really physical. They hit a ton. Like that's not what they're known for, right? So they switch up their game and they can squash people. They smother them. And then they have skill to be able to put the puck in the net. It's like, and then they have Andre Vasilevsky to hold the net down. It's just, you got to play a different style of hockey, and people are starting to look at Colorado and being like, okay, they have one of the most skilled blue lines in the league, but they don't have the biggest blue line. And you look at their lineup and they don't have super physical players either. So it's like they got rid of Zadorov and Ian Cole in the past season, which those two guys are known for being physical. Like, a lot of people are actually, and I've seen this more than once, so this is why I'm talking about it. People are talking about Alexiak being potentially a good, like, getting rid of Eric Johnson if he moves his no move clause, and then bringing in Alexiak, because that's like the perfect defenseman to be able to like lock down and play a physical game if they need to. Because 100, like what Curtis said before, Gerard started to panic so hard in that series that they were exposing him big time. He would get robbed, and then he wouldn't be able to make a play because he was like, holy fuck, where am I? And yeah, if you're that small and you're used to having space, and teams are like, all right, do your spins, do whatever, get your passes in the regular season, then the playoffs, they were just fucking hitting him every time he touched the puck. And so he started making shitty passes, started losing the puck, turnovers, whatever. And then that started going to Kale. And then Kale started doing that. And then Ryan Graves started doing that. And then Patrick Nemeth did it every fucking time he had the puck, which made me lose my mind, bro. But yeah, Grubauer was the only reason why that series went to 6 games. Like, the only reason.
Just consistently like the three defensemen with like at least -3.
Yeah.
Like, and everyone else was like, McKinnon was decent. Like, they were obviously on the ice, but it was spread out throughout the lines. But it was just those, like, the deep pairings, and it seemed like they were playing so much. Like, Vegas was just 1 second ahead of them. Like, they were playing on like a lag or something. And
watching it, like, I don't know how much it has to do. Like, obviously the physicality makes a difference, but I don't know if I'm Colorado, I don't know if size is really what you need to add. I think you just need people to buy in more to a two-way game. And I feel like they've built, especially their bottom 6 forwards, and I'm not the most familiar with this team. I don't watch them as much as you guys, but it seems to me that those bottom 6 guys, they're filled with still really skilled guys that don't necessarily buy into like that hard back checking type of hockey you need to be able to play in the playoffs. And you contrast that with like Vegas's top line with Mark Stone, who is probably the best defensive player, but best defensive forward in the league. I think that's fair to say.
Probably Selke winner.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, so you go down the lines, and it's not to say that they're bad players, but like when you have Valerie Nichushkin and like Andre Burakovsky and stuff deeper down your lineup, it's like those guys are there. They're adding skill, they're adding finesse, which is great, but you need someone on those lines. You need a shutdown offensive line, and it didn't really feel like they had that. But what I would say, I mean, going into the playoffs and even after that first game, I thought Vegas was dusted. But you can't say Colorado wasn't a really great team. They're a genuine cup contender this year. They easily could have made the cup final if they didn't run into Vegas, who's probably second, third best team in the league behind them. Be Tampa Bay, right? So it just goes to show, man, like, even it doesn't matter how well your team is built. You know, you're gonna run into teams that you don't match up well against. You're gonna run into a hot team. You kind of need to give your best team, the best lineup you can put together, a few kicks at the can. Obviously last year with the goaltending situation kind of screwed them. This year they seem to stay relatively healthy, other than the Byram thing. But just, run into a hot Vegas team. And so for a team like Toronto, just to bring it back to that, because they've been getting on so hard. It's like, dude, Toronto's won as many cups as Colorado has in the last 5 years, right? So maybe the way you're losing is a little bit more heartbreaking, or you're a little bit more of a favorite in the series, but that's not cause to blow it up, because I think like Colorado runs it back with this same lineup, especially with the young guys in their team. Like Colin Jost was just dirtying people. Like he was dancing around. He was looking nasty like he did in junior. So they've like, obviously Byram as well. They've got these young guys that don't have much experience in the league they've got a pretty big window there. You just give it another season. I don't really feel like maybe one or two moves, but this is not the type of thing where you blow it up.
No.
Right? They're still unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Newhook was looking really, really good too. Like I'm pretty sure he had like 10 points and was like a +4 by the end of the playoffs, which is pretty good. So, and they were all assists and he had 1 goal, but still, it was just to see him doing well was nice. And then, I mean, if Byram was in, he probably would have done well as well. So, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, Mike. It's, you know, you run into a hot team and you never know what happens, right? And Marc-Andre Fleury also, like, we can't discredit how well he played, because as soon as they threw Robin Leonard in there, like, pretty much to the Wolves in the first game, and then had fucking, what's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, he got fucked.
Yeah, and like essentially they were just like, all right, we need a break for Fleury, and then fucking first game destroyed, and then Marc-Andre Fleury came in, and it was a completely different series after that. Not that he was the main reason, but he also was a big reason why Vegas was in it every game, you know? So
I feel like McKinnon got rattled that series a little bit too. Like, he was pretty quiet until game 7, where he kind of picked it up again and looked a little bit more himself. But it's like, that's great and all. And like, sometimes you get caught up in like that, oh, okay, it's game 3 or it's game 4. This game actually really does matter. And then you realize after the fact that, holy shit, like, we're in such a bad spot or worse spot now. And I don't know, but
he looked like he was trying to do too much a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was like trying to overthink it, and it's just some of the stuff didn't work out. When you're trying to force stuff and it doesn't come naturally, it doesn't really work out in hockey. So
yeah. Well, that top line was smothering him big time. Like,
yeah,
that Stevenson, Mark Stone line was just like, they were not giving him any sort of room to move whatsoever. And Martinez and Theodore did like a crazy job with like keeping the puck in and just making sure that when they had zone time, it was staying in, and it doesn't matter whether they just cycled the puck or got it deep. Like 6 times in a row, they were just fucking throwing it deep and making Colorado run in circles, and then eventually it went in, and it happened like 15 times throughout that series. It was pretty, well, I mean, to me, it was fucking annoying as hell.
Yeah.
Like, guys, just get it out. Like, how many turnovers are we gonna fucking do to just until the like I don't know.
And it was weird to see that happen to Colorado, because they're probably the best breakout team in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's really, really uncharacteristic of them. But on the other end too, like, it's hard to win 4 games in a row at any point in an NHL season. To win 4 games in a row in the playoffs against Colorado is massively impressive.
Yeah.